All right. Hi, and welcome in the next webinar in our Plantae webinar series. My name is Jason Padilla, and I'm your technical host for today's webinar. Next slide, please. This webinar series is brought to you today by Plantae, the open online community for plant scientists powered by the American Society of Plant Biologists. I would like to give a special thank you to all our ASPB members who are attending today's webinar. Your ASPB membership dues help support in making this webinar possible. For any of you who have not yet joined ASPB, you can join today, and by using the discount code %10, you get to save 10% on your membership registration. ASPB members get access to many other ASPB benefits, and you can learn about all of those by going through aspb.org. There's a lot more that you can learn more about ASPB. Next slide, please. This webinar is recorded and we'll make this available on our Plantae YouTube channel. So if you're looking for additional Plantae content resources, make sure you check that out and go through the Plantae YouTube channel. Next slide. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some housekeeping items to make sure that you get the most of your attendance in today's webinar. If you are experiencing technical issues, please let us know about those by using the Q&A box or by emailing me at jpadilla@aspb.org. If you have questions for our speakers, please add them in the Zoom Q&A box also. Our moderator will be sharing them with our presenter during the Q&A portion of the webinar. And if you have trouble connecting or need to leave the webinar early, as I mentioned, this webinar is recorded and we'll make this available after. So be sure to, again, follow the YouTube channel to receive notification when new content are posted. And so with that, I will turn it over to our moderators who are Plantae Fellows who will facilitate today's session. Take it away, Plantae Fellows.
All righty. Hello, everyone. I am Iris. I'm going to go through the webinar outline. So today we have 3 speakers for you that'll share a little bit about their career paths that are a little bit away from the beaten path. So I will go through a quick introduction of our speakers and Plantae fellow moderators. There will be our speakers will follow immediately afterwards. So we'll have each speaker present their story for about 10 minutes, followed by a brief 5-minute Q&A session for each speaker. 3 of those will be a total of 45 minutes, and then we'll finish with our closing remarks. And any remaining questions could be answered afterwards. All right, our speakers for today are Max Moorcroft, Katya Sakaraki, and Harry Pink. And then I'll go through our moderators. So we have Charlotte Wood, a postdoctoral researcher at UW-Madison, Anastasia Kolesnikova, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Southampton, Fatai Ayomide Akande, a research assistant at the International Institute of Tropical Agricultural Headquarters, and myself, Iris, a biology instructor at Foothill College.
So our first speaker today is going to be Max Moorcroft. He is an early career wildlife communicator with a real passion for plants. He holds a BSc in plant science from the University of Bristol and is on a mission to make nature education accessible to everyone. In 2025, he featured on BBC Springwatch, which for our global audience is a popular British television series celebrating wildlife and nature. He's also the co-creator of City Sprout, which is a card game about urban plants that's been distributed across the UK. So Max is currently building his path as a freelance facilitator, leading walks and workshops, all while juggling life as a community storyteller, cafe worker, and brilliantly an oat milkman. So let's give a warm welcome to Max.
Hello, let me share my screen. Oh no. Lovely. Hello, I am Max. I came out of uni very recently, so in June. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what I've been up to, how I got to going to uni in plant science, and then what I've been doing since. So, this is me. Let's go. So firstly, I started off with A-levels, and I did A-levels in chemistry, maths, and art. You might notice that that doesn't include biology. Yes, I just didn't. I went to go do plant science without having done biology. I put this caterpillar in because I thought it would make some of the plant scientists stressed as we got into the talk. So then I went and did BSc Plant Science at the University of Bristol. And I and some of my research included the effect of wool rock type on urban plants, the effect of ash dieback on Lee Woods and an ancient woodland near Bristol, and a literature review on the difference between heterophyly and heteroblasty. This is one of my favorite facts, which means that there's a change in leaf behavior after a certain amount of time for heteroblasty, and that's in response to development, whereas in heterophyly, it's in response to an environmental cue, such as herbivory, or being aquatic versus terrestrial. So you might see that in some aquatic plants, you often see heterophyly too. Outside of the course, I was very involved in various other things, such as the Conservation Group, the Botanical University Challenge, the BSBI's Identity Plant, and the BSBI is the British Society for Botany, no, Botanic Society of Britain and Ireland's Flora. And then I'm also part of the Kew Gardens Youth Council, and was in the Mycology Society and Folk Societies. I want to say something on kind of my time during university, which was that I never really identified that much. I never really most of my interest was outside the course. So when I was doing all of this, I was doing my course alongside it, but kind of putting most of my energy into conservation and into the Botanical University Challenge, because that was where my interest really lied. And that was when I also started posting videos about nature. So from about 2023, I started posting random videos about the things that I found out and about in nature, especially plants. And so I would literally just very short videos, and it seemed like people enjoyed these videos. So I continued to do it, and I enjoyed making them too. And back to my A-level art. This was a really lovely way for me to be creative and also communicate about something which I love so much, which is plants and wildlife. So I continued and continued with this. And I also want to say about the art and creative side of things that doing A-level art actually probably made, because I didn't do GCSE art, there's a bit of a pattern going there. But doing A-level arts and being creative and really looking up close, I did a lot of botanical drawing. That was such a huge part of how I found love for nature and a love for plants, especially because they're so minuscule, and how it's so great with seeing every piece of anatomy and being able to really represent it and identify a plant. That was a huge part of my way that I got into really loving plants as well. So this was a creative outlet during uni, and it was also a great way for me to learn a lot about plants. Then came along City Sprout. So I applied I pitched an idea to the Woodland Trust, which is a British non-governmental organisation that's focused on woodlands, about this card game called City Sprout. And it won the competition alongside 5 other projects, and it was funded £6,000 to become a reality. So, in collaboration with Ruby Scott Geddes, a brilliant artist, as you can see some of their illustrations here, we created City Sprout together, which is a card game all about urban plants. And the aim of City Sprout is to try and get more people in urban areas looking at the nature on their doorstep. And I'm talking literally on their doorstep, because all of these plants really do grow on walls across the city and in pavements. And yeah, it's a fun game. It's very cool. I've got 300 decks in my bedroom for when people order them. Then, thanks to the videos, somebody from BBC Springwatch said, "Oh, would you like to come on Springwatch?" And I said, "Yeah, why would I not?" So, I ended up being on Springwatch and I spoke about my favorite fact, which is heterophyly versus heteroblasty. So, you see heteroblasty in ivy. This is an ivy that you find in the UK, and this is the more mature leaf, which doesn't have the classic lobes that you might imagine an ivy would have. Then I had my cafe, then I graduated and I had my cafe era because everyone has a cafe area, or not everybody, but lots of people have their cafe area. And I think it's very important to make this very aware. So I've actually only just quit my job at the cafe. Um, and I think it was a really, really important time for me to kind of have some time out of academia and to just continue with working in a cafe, really, and earn some money, most importantly. Then I was offered a role for make a film in a weekend CIC for 2 days a week, and I've been doing that since. And as part of that role, I facilitate storytelling events and advertise storytelling events to people across Bristol. And last but not least, I kind of took the plunge more recently into freelancing for the rest of those 3 days a week. And as part of that freelancing, I do oat milk. I am an oat milk milkman, which Charlotte mentioned. And I also do walks and workshops in foraging, folklore, and identification, other science communication work such as filming and panels. And then I also do some Kaylee calling on the side, which was another thing that I did at university. And that is the whole of my talk, so that we've got lots of time for questions. You can see my Instagram and LinkedIn there, and you can see anything about how you look at city sprouts just up top on the right. Then I also want to draw your eyes to the City Nature Challenge, which is coming next month, and this is a challenge on iNaturalist for anyone to upload records of wildlife that they see in their city. And I'd really encourage you all to get involved in that. So we'll go on to questions now.
Great. Thank you, Max. That was really, really exciting. While we wait for people to put in questions in the chat, I just want to ask you kind of a first question is, so from your university education, what has been the most transferable or the most useful skill that you learnt in your current career?
Yeah, so definitely I would say that my the skill that I learnt the most was the methodology of seeing a problem and then or seeing a gap and then kind of researching in that gap. And I think this really relates to City Sprout as well, because with City Sprout, I saw a problem that which was a lot of people in urban areas don't have as much access to nature as other people, and then kind of created a project to fill that gap. And I think that this is a really important thing, especially in the charitable sector, which I've really learnt. And yeah, so identifying a gap and filling that gap in terms of research and also in terms of jobs and projects.
Nice. So we have a question in the chat from Matilda Jansen. So they say, "Hi Max, how would you recommend getting into Plant ID?"
Yeah, of course. So, dependent on where you are. So, in the UK, what really helped me was the BSBI's Identiplant course. It's really great. It runs from January until September every year. And apart from that, a really good book which I would recommend is The Francis Rose, and it includes lots of the glossary. So I really love the glossary. It teaches you all of the anatomy, all of the different anatomical parts, and you can also have a look at all of the plants in the UK. I don't know about international resources, but start with anatomy. That's what helped me because I really enjoyed anatomy. But maybe start with whatever really interests you and which you can just keep going into. Just keep on going on the little random fact quests. You're not there isn't any there you don't have to achieve a certain thing. Just go into what you really enjoy and just keep on digging a hole that you enjoy.
Nice. Okay, we have a question from Nabila El Arbi. Hi, Max. Thank you for the nice presentation. How do you keep your motivation to keep driving your projects, even if there's a financial tight spot, i.e., balancing, I love this, v, I need to pay my bills?
So this is definitely a line which I've been trying to a balance. It's a huge balance between kind of a passion project and then actually having to earn money. Um, yeah, yeah. It's quite yeah. It's difficult. So what I kind of did was with the cafe role. When I got the make a film in a weekend role, which was 2 days a week, I also I reduced my cafe hours, my cafe days to only 2 days a week as well, and that left me 1 day a week to do the project. I was lucky enough to be able to afford that, but I know that not everyone can do that. So I would say trying to make the project as kind of like do something that you really, really enjoy and sharing it with other people as well. And with other people who you really enjoy spending time with and working with, because they will hold you kind of accountable, but also hopefully make sure that you like keep you in check in terms of remembering, ah, yes, I have to earn money as well.
Yes. Okay, and then a question from Adolfo. How do you prepare your science communication projects, like your videos and social media?
Yeah, okay. So what I do is I pretty much just learn loads and loads of facts about plants, and I kind of just have them stored in my brain. And then I'll see something in nature and kind of just do it on the spot. And those are actually the ones that often work the most for me personally, because maybe when I've got the energy for it, that shows on the camera. But other ways that you can do it is by kind of knowing that there will be, for example, hawthorn new shoots coming out at the moment, but the buds are all bursting, and you might look up hawthorn and then go find a hawthorn and then use whatever facts you've learned from looking it up to then do your project, to then do your video or yeah, or other science communication project as well. So having the facts at hand beforehand definitely works. But also, if you don't have the facts at hand and you just really want to, this feels like this would be perfect for a video, but I don't know the facts, you can take the video and then kind of do an audio overlay at the end, and that's always another option too. But making sure that you've got the facts in your belt always works. Always bring a maybe a book with you in case, you know.
Okay, and I'm going to one more quick question. So from Reshma Patil, as a science communicator, what skills do you think are the most important for taking this work to the next level or creating new opportunities?
Could you repeat that again? Sorry.
So what skills do you think are most important for being a science communicator?
Um, well, I'm very early career, so please take this with a pinch of salt. But I think what's kind of helped me so far is people talk about kind of enthusiasm, um, and just not holding myself back from kind of, oh yeah, this, as in saying, oh yeah, pretending to be nonchalant about a plant. I'm not going to be nonchalant about a plant. If I really think it's really cool, then I'm going to kind of show that. Um, so yeah, enthusiasm and probably also organization as well, especially with freelancing, because you might have lots of jobs from different organizations, and it's a lot to balance. So really making sure that you've got some good organization skills, a good plan in place for when processes in place for when stuff does come through. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Max. There's still some more questions in the chat, so if you have some time, you can answer them, or anyone on the call can write to Max if you have something more specific you want to ask him.
Mhm.
But otherwise, thank you very much for your time today. And
Thank you. Yeah, please do feel free to contact me on Instagram if you have any more questions.
great. And I'll hand the stage to Anastasia.
Lovely. So I'll be introducing our next speaker, who is Katya Zakaraki. Katya has been involved in the soilless cultivation space for the last 10 years, spanning from glasshouse operations to total controlled environment agriculture, which is also known as vertical farming, with a focus on both technical and business aspects. So her primary area of expertise is strawberry cultivation, gained through a combination of roles at startups and research organizations. So she holds an MSc from Agricultural Engineering and an MBA in Agribusiness, and is even currently pursuing a part-time PhD at Harper Adams University, specializing in LED lighting and total controlled environment agriculture strawberry cultivation. Katya is the founder of Innofight Consulting, a specialist consultancy offering science as a service to agri-tech companies. Innofight supports businesses with experimental design, data interpretation, grant writing, and technical strategy, translating research into real-world outcomes. Her professional path includes a part-time role as a TCEA soft fruit specialist at NIAB, one of UK's leading crop science organisations, and she volunteers as a communications director for UK Urban Agricultural Technologies, which is a membership organisation that brings together key players in modern urban agricultural technologies. So, very warm welcome to Katya.
Thank you, Anastasia. That was really good. Thank you very much for the intro. So hopefully my presentation will be seen here. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. And it's really a pleasure to share my journey, because how I've been here is probably, I didn't see it coming, because really what happened, I moved from Greece to the UK 2016, when in Greece we had financial crisis. And when I came in the UK, I came with 300 euros, with a daughter 5 years of age, and I didn't know what I would do. So now the process has been really interesting. And I think what is important to say is it is who you are and your personality and how you are driven and how you are looking things around. But let me tell you who I am. So you said, Anastasia, I'm doing vertical farming in various, and I'm collaborating with various institutions. The company opened 2 years ago, and I'm very proud, because I never thought I would be into business. I thought they are mean people that I don't like to have their qualities, but they are not actually. And I'm very proud being part of NIAB. It was a company that I was looking up to since 2016, emailing those high esteemed researchers, and now I'm working with them, which is, I cannot believe it. And UK UAT, that I am one of the key members, board members. I volunteered at the beginning. I didn't even know what I was doing, and it had gone so far away. But I just wanted also to show you, at the right, it is a picture of the glass house I did my undergraduate thesis with my little baby there, while we are collecting data in winter time, and I had to do everything. So this is just a demonstration, apart from the health and safety in Greece, but also that if you really want something, you can do it. And at the same time, I was working night in Greece. So tells you, it was a lot. So my background, I grew up with parents that they were actually scientists. There is an S missing there in the parents because I have dyslexia. So that's another thing I had to go through. But seeing my parents actually struggling with art, and they didn't have actually stable income, and they were so talented, both of them. I have even won some competitions with art, but I didn't really want to do that. And now looking back, I think I could have done it, because it was a matter of marketing, really, for an artist to do, to sell. And because this is what I do with my company, I do marketing as well now. And I do have to do marketing for my own, how can I say it, branding, because as individual I have branding, apparently, and you will find that as well as you go through life. So my early years, I was dancing. So no one expected I will go into the CA and I would be dealing with all this men-dominated space. And I still enjoy exercise, and I'm very keen going to the gym and doing different things. But I'm also doing all the other things I'm doing. So I still have various aspects of my life personality. And I have 2 children. So that's my older daughter now, she's 14, and at the back, the other little one I have. So amongst everything I do, I'm still a mom, and I have to do everything as well. So when I started getting into this space in 2016, I started working with startups, and coming in the UK, we realized that actually people they didn't know a lot about hydroponics, and there were not many people that they could fix a pump, understand how to do drip irrigation, do a little bit of business, understand communication and talk how to talk like to shareholders, to partners, to prepare presentations. So these skills across the board were quite key to put me as the first employee for a few startups. So I would say sometimes we don't really value, like, for example, Word or Excel skills or like how you speak to people, but these are skills that they will help you navigate life. And okay, I might come across confident now, but back then when I was started working with those startups, I couldn't, I was trying to be as everyone else. I was trying to prepare presentations like everyone else. Like now, I can increase the tone of my voice and I can like move my hands and I feel confident about that. But before, I was feeling anxious and I was feeling, how I will be speak. I don't speak good English, my accent. I have dyslexia, how I'm going to write an email, reading an email 1,000 times. But now I can sit in front of you and say I missed an S. So there are these things like you grow out and you understand it, you build confidence only when you expose yourself in these environments and you go for it and you try to find the opportunities. Because when you graduate uni or you even are in uni, you cannot see ahead only through, these potential opportunities that come, the ways you're looking for job, the networking you do, sometimes outside of the box you don't expect, and things will happen that you will not even think that you could. So now I give talks, apart from the other things Anastasia explained we're doing. And even today I'm at the Fruitnet Berry Congress in London, sitting at the side to talk to you. So has been like completely different to what I was before when I couldn't do any talks. And then, as I said, I opened the company 2 years ago, which I couldn't even think in my life. And just something that helped with my confidence and how to be a little bit more upfront and not think too much. I'm just giving this advice. I was listening lots of property podcasts because these people in this sector, they are so on your face and helped me a lot to be a little bit more bold and actually build my confidence. And now have a small consulting company and I can travel, can go back to my country, I can work from home. And I don't get so much money that have solved my problem, but I have enough that I can live comfortable and I can take a day off to enjoy the sunshine when we have rarely in the UK. So I'm very happy. Now, the last couple of years, I have been working with NIAB that I was looking up for so much, and we have been building projects together, which is amazing. And working with those scientists I was looking up for so much, like earlier when I graduated. But also I made friends. So I think along the way, as you saw with Max, it is important to do things outside or even your industry. And we have lots of fun. So don't forget that, because this is actually what people will remember at the end. And you will find that you can connect the dots and you can create projects and opportunities only when you relate with people and you relate as humans, not like just because you see what project you're going to get with them in the future. So yeah, I would say be very thorough, like find opportunities, go for it, develop your confidence, go outside of your comfort zone, because you will never know what exactly is going to happen. And maybe, I did all that with this background I have, but maybe I will close this chapter. I will get my PhD. I haven't finished my PhD yet. I might go to do something completely different, but at the time, this is what has been my journey. And if you have any questions, see my social media. I try to do a little bit of Instagram, but I'm not so good as Max. So yeah, hope you got some encouragement and like thinking outside of box about your potential careers. And any questions, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katya. If you just close down your slides, I'll be able to put up the Q&A. But we do have some questions coming in. And one of the first ones is actually Somebody's asked that you've gone from feeling anxious about speaking to happily giving talks now. Was there a turning point, or is it more of a gradual shift through sort of exposure and different opportunities?
I think it's more gradual. Like at the beginning, I had to prepare word by word my presentation. I had to have a script. I had to rehearse it. I had to video record myself, send it to people to give me feedback, to correct my pronunciation. Now I got up for the panel I had. We had some questions that I checked half an hour before. When I sat on the panel, I felt my heart, that it was getting quicker. So I was thinking my breathing to relax because there is a reason why they have told me to be here. This is what I was thinking. So you will still get this rush, but it's going to be more manageable. And then slowly, also I know some people on the audience. This is a practice I did. I start talking to people on the floor. So when I go up, I have some familiar faces, and now I know people in the industry, so I can see familiar faces and relaxes me. But it's more like gradual, and you need actually to expose yourself to this severe anxiety to be able to develop. Otherwise, it's not happening. This is what I think.
Awesome. We've got another question from Sabrina. How do you recommend networking after graduating?
Yes, good. So, while you are studying, not only after graduating, you can go to conferences where they give you the opportunity to put your poster. So at the poster, you start talking. So that's a networking opportunity. There might be like, for example, even during in your university, they do something like 3-minute thesis. So that is a networking as well because they see you, they will come then talk to you, and you will start having questions. Another is to go to associations where you are and to register. They have usually youth memberships, and you go to attend seminars and open days, and you go and talk to people. You ask questions, you exchange. So anything that has to do with your a particular, space of interest, just grab any opportunity to go and try to talk. Sometimes you won't feel it, but say, okay, I cannot talk at all. Can I talk to one person? So this is what I would say. Any opportunity to go outside of your lab or your desk, talk to people, and at least talk to one person.
That's great. We have some questions about your consulting business. So some of the things that have been asked what are the things to consider when you have your own startup, but also how do you find clients for your business?
Yes, so when you get like a company, first of all, you need to have a service to offer. So what I started doing is I started creating my own branding. So while I was going to different like conferences to attend at the time, I was doing networking. So through networking, and also I volunteer for UK UAT since 2019 for communications director, and I didn't have a clue what I was that all about. But everyone started knowing me because I was doing the comms. I was moderating the webinars. I was sending the newsletters. I was welcoming new people, members in the company. So they knew from this volunteering work I was doing, all of them. And the plant science element was at the side, but I was still known. So I started working on my public image, basically. So if you see my LinkedIn, it's quite okay. So I try to post. I'm not very good all the time, obviously, but people, they need to find you. So after I opened the company, then I'm interested about SEO, a search engine optimization. So when someone puts something on Google, your company comes up. I continuously post things. I go to conferences. I give my email. I have a card, an electronic card. I follow up on them. So this is a constant thing. But first, you need to have a service that you will start as self-employed, and then you will open a company. There are lots of things about that, and I'm happy to talk to people if you want to send me an email, because there is a lot about that. But generally, is your public image and your branding as individual that will go first, and then the rest will follow.
That's lovely. I think that's all that we have time for in terms of questions for right now. But as
Thank you.
always, there will be an opportunity to reach out to speakers as well after this.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Katya. I'll hand it off to Charlie to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Anastasia. So for our final speaker of the session, last but not least, I'm delighted to invite Harry Pink. Harry is a plant scientist turned biotech data scientist who specializes in translating biological complexity into real-world tools. He completed his PhD in plant science at the University of York, studying host pathogen interactions in lettuce, before moving to be a bioinformatics scientist at Biomodal. Harry is now a senior data scientist at MitraBio, where he applies machine learning to epigenetic data to build predictive models for skin cancers and aesthetic skin phenotypes. Please welcome Harry.
We can see the slides. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll just give a quick talk about my career path so far. Um, so I started off an undergraduate at the University of Sussex. Not doing plant science at all. I was doing human genetics, cancer genetics, with research projects involving like cell biology, cell cycle control, these sort of things. And then after this, at this point, I was thinking that I wanted to be a lab scientist at the bench. I was looking for PhDs, and I was not really sure what I wanted to do. Searching through findaphd.com, and this PhD at York stood out. Subject jump, but it interested me due to its kind of real world applications in order to try and breed some plants that were resistant to pathogens. Um, yeah, it was a very big jump, but it was very exciting. And then you can see with each one of these jumps I make throughout my career, I don't really have for each step. There's not really much. I don't really have much knowledge in the subject area before I make that jump. But I think it's the transferable skills that you sort of pick up at each stage, which has helped me kind of to succeed in each one of these steps during the PhD. It's not. I think the things that I've taken most from the PhD throughout the career hasn't necessarily been the specifics of the subject, but it's been the soft skills that were learned throughout the way, such as the problem solving, the critiquing data, these kind of things. Um, yeah. And then after the PhD, I went on to Biomodal to work as a bioinformatics scientist, and another big stepping away from the knowledge I'd gained in plant science, um, stepping into a company that was selling library prep kits for epigenetic analysis. And there was this was a big step, as the kind of work that I was doing here was different again to the work that I was doing the PhD. This was a lot about building software that could repeatably work in the hands of customers reliably every time, which is a very different kind of ask to writing software for analysis during a PhD that only really has to run for me. So that was another quite large step. But then that role after a period of time I found wasn't particularly scientific facing, like given my like interest in research. I'd learned to improve a set of skills at here, but I kind of felt at a point that I wasn't really and it wasn't I'd kind of reached the point of my growth was kind of plateauing. So I made the jump again into another new field, um, a microbiome, which is a more scientific, like research focused role, building machine learning tools. Yeah. So why did I choose data science after my PhD? I mentioned that during the start of my PhD, I thought I was going to be a wet lab scientist at the bench. I quickly found out that that wasn't for me. I didn't really have the patience for wet lab experiments, and I start to learn the bioinformatic wet lab side. I doing that, I enjoyed really being able to find insights, uncovering biological insights from really large, complex data sets. And I like that the skills the skills for bioinformatics analysis are transferable. It has allowed me to move move easily between fields, and I'm a kind of person that would get a bit bored stuck like doing one thing for a long period of time after I'd done lettuce for 4 years. I wanted to change, and it's allowed me to sort of um, move fields quite easily. So what does a data scientist do on a day-to-day basis? You often see like when these job adverts, like you see these quite a lot of like buzzwords. You see like um, latest models and things, but it doesn't actually really often describe what the job involves and what you do on a day-to-day basis. Um, as a data science in industry, you'll often have a senior leader coming up with some buzzwords and things that they would like this model to do, and you need to sit down and distill what is this, what are they describing, what's the problem they're actually trying to solve. Because you can spend a lot of time building a great model, but if it doesn't solve the business need, you'll you'll waste a lot of your time. It involves a lot of actually probably the largest proportion of data engineering, building your data pipelines and trying to understand these messy biological data sets, clean them, and work out what actual modeling you're going to be able to do on them. There's a large component of writing reproducible code, testing code to make sure your model training is doing what you think it's doing, and make sure it's going to repeatedly do this. Um, then hopefully when your models work, you'll have a result, and then you need to do your biological interpretation on this to making sure that your model is giving you meaningful insights. You can sometimes get great results, but it's looking at some kind of technical variation, or just overfitting to the original data set you gave it, and it's not very useful. Um, so yeah, biological interpretation is a big part, and communication to non-technical stakeholders. Um, you can come up with a real nice graph really showing your results, but if it's not understandable um, to the management team to really understand how this model can be used, then it's not very useful. Um, I think I've largely mentioned these in the previous slides. Um, I think that some of the biggest things I've taken from my PhD isn't the direct subject knowledge. It's these soft skills that perhaps as PhD students we sometimes overlook. This project management, being able to deliver things to deadlines, uh, cross-disciplinary collaboration, problem solving. When you're doing an experiment, you come to a dead end. You have to really think about the problem, come up with solutions, turning these complex data sets into actionable insights, and critically evaluating both your work and others' work. These are all things that are really applicable to industry. Um, Compared to academia, working in industry, what's actually because a lot of you can do kind of data science work in academia, you can do model building, but there are some things that are different about the day to day. If you want to make the switch to industry, timelines become a lot faster. Models or results are needed in short term. Um, the priorities can shift very quickly depending on business and market needs. You may be working on a project, but then a competitor comes out with something, and suddenly the thing you have in progress isn't as high priority. You need to switch focus. Um, yeah, sometimes speed is often more important than perfection. If you can get something okay and get it released, it's often better than a perfect solution. And you can get feedback from people who are actually using your work in out in the wild. I think this is one of the most rewarding parts when you speak to people who are using some software or some models that you've built, and they're using it in their research or in their products. It's very nice. And then quickly. There's when looking at moving to industry, there's a real range in sizes of organization, and it does make a dramatic difference to what the work's like on a day to day. So I've worked for the company I'm at now is like 10 people, and previously I've been at companies 100 plus people, and that's probably considered relatively small as well. But there is still a large difference in an early stage startup. You get a high ownership of a project. You have visibility at things that happen over the whole stretch of the organization. Um, and you may be able to progress fast. If you join a company early and the company does well, you're likely to be able to start a team and lead a team. Um, but also it's less when you're early career, it's less structured. You have a lot less mentorship. You're kind of left to figure a lot of things out for yourself, and there's also higher risk. The company, small stage companies may not last that long. They may have funding challenges. They may the direction of the company may change entirely. But in more established companies, you have strong mentorship. You have often have senior people to learn from, which is especially important when you're early career. You have a kind of stable environment and resources, and it's great for networking because so often in biotech you apply for a job and there's somebody there who you used to work with, or you know someone who you used to work with. But in larger companies, you often have more bureaucracy and narrower scope. You may be starting an exciting project, and it's really developing nicely, but then that's now it's your your part in that work is done, and it's passed to somebody else. So you don't necessarily have that same level of ownership. Um, that's everything. Any questions?
Great, thank you so much, Harry. Yes, we have lots of questions in the chat. So I'm going to start with, so you mentioned that you entered the jobs with little prior domain knowledge. This is from Nabila El Abi, and he says, I feel like lacking experience is a huge bottleneck on the job market right now. So how do you approach the interviews or the job application process?
I think you need I think you need to really emphasize these soft skills because there's so much that we learn in a PhD that by just saying that I've done a PhD, like an industry person looking at that is going to be like, well, that's not useful to my company doing X. But if you really emphasize the problem solving, the project management and all these kind of aspects, then I think that it really helps you out. Like there's a lot of different ways to word the experiences that you get from a PhD, and I think yeah, you can. There's a lot of things we learn that we just need to emphasize more.
Yeah. And then a question from Katie Riccio. Do you have any advice for someone wanting to learn more about data science from a wet lab background?
Yes, there are now lots of tutorials that you can do in R and in Python to start getting these coding skills. Obviously, nowadays there is a lot that a large language model like ChatGPT or Claude can do for you to get you started. But I think it's also really useful to get a grounding in the programming languages to understand how to code, and then yeah.
Mhm. So then another question from the audience is, what was your bioinformatics level when you started? Did
When I
you have
started,
coding experience before you joined your first job after your PhD?
so I Well, my bioinformatics experience when I started my PhD was very low. I'd done one module maybe in undergrad on Python, but I'd learnt my bioinformatics experience throughout my PhD. So when at the time I was applying for the first job, it was it was pretty good. But saying that, it was mainly R and not a lot of Python. But then in that job, I mainly did Python. So, but I think that the skills are transferable.
Mhm. Okay, and then this is an interesting question from Maria Yamburenko. So, what do you think about using AI in bioinformatics? Do you feel AI can eliminate some entry-level bioinformatic jobs?
I think this is a real concern because I think that there is a there is a lot of AI use in bioinformatics, and AI can do a lot of bioinformatic analysis. Like, I use it in my day-to-day job quite a lot, and it does seem to be having an effect in the job market, particularly at the entry level, because we find that um, they like small tasks that you may 5, 10 years ago have employed a junior to do. Like it's sometimes easier to get get an AI to do it. Um, but I think yeah, it is hurting the particularly the junior section of the market. Um, I don't know if that's what people want to hear.
Okay, I'll give you one last question from May Cooper. So they say, thank you for the presentation. Do you feel that the experience in industry over time is equivalent to the experience gained from a PhD? And would one help in the job market over the other?
Yeah, I don't think that PhDs are a prerequisite for doing these jobs in industry. At Biomodal, there was a lot of bioinformaticians that didn't have PhDs and did perfectly well. I do think that if you want to go for roles that are more research orientated, like R&D roles, then I think having a PhD really helps, and it accelerates your problem solving, your critical thinking, and these kind of things. But it's not having one I wouldn't see as a blocker.
Okay, nice. So thank you very, very much, Harry, for your time. And then any questions will be answered after the webinar, hopefully. So I'm going to pass to Fatih to close us off.
All right, I will sign us off actually. So what we'll go ahead and do is just thank everyone for attending. So thank all of our attendees. Thank you to our speakers who shared their time with us to talk about their experiences. We had a really lively discussion and a lot of questions coming in, and certainly a lot of questions that will be answered afterwards. And thank you again to our moderators and to Jason for helping us run this webinar.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to, again, as Iris said, thank you to all of you for tuning in and being engaged in the conversation. And a big thank you to all our speakers who's were brave enough and really open up to share their journey and their stories with you all. And then lastly, a big shout out to all our Plantae fellows who spent hours in trying to pull this together. And so with that, we hope you enjoyed this webinar and we hope that you join the next one. And if you are hoping to watch it again, we'll post the recording, as I mentioned, on our Plantae YouTube channel and the Plantae website. And if you are looking for more, catch us on the next one and then watch the other recordings. And with that, I hope everyone have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everyone.